Greetings and welcome to another We Thrive at Life chat. Today I have the privilege and honor of being with Laura Reuter, who is also a cancer thriver. And as we're approaching Breast Health Awareness Month, I wanted to bring Laura here. Laura is a patient navigator and an 8-year breast cancer survivor and certified patient navigator. Um, She's had the honor of walking alongside nearly 700 individuals on their journeys, and she's had heartfelt conversations with these beautiful women. Um, and one common thread often surfaces, and I know that for a fact. Many of us share a difficult experience of losing our confidence when we go through something like this, because let's face it, it's a female part that plays a lot of roles in our lives, and sometimes for some people it defines them. They've carried these babies their whole lives, and they're their friends, and I know for me it took me a long time to come out um after everything happened with me. And one of my concerns was seeing people that I had seen before just kind of, I thought that they would just gravitate right toward there, even if they didn't know anything, because
Yeah.
of how things turned out for me. I mean, they turned out pretty good, but it's not the same. And so, anyway, Laura, share your journey with us.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yes, I'll just start with it's different for everybody.
yes,
If you've ever
yes,
been through
it is.
treatment, that's the first thing you learn. It's different for everybody, and
Yeah.
you get real tired of that right out of the gate. But it
Hmm.
is kind of different for everybody. There are some individuals that will go through treatment with minimal issues, minimal barriers. It's a speed bump, and they go right back to life, and that's a beautiful thing. It's
Hmm.
beautiful. For others, like myself, like yourself, the treatment is and nothing like that. So for myself, um, I was diagnosed with, here's the technical part, ERPR, which is your hormone negative and HER2 positive. Basically, what that means is 70% of breast cancer diagnosis are hormone receptor related. Just
Right.
means that your cancer likes the hormones. Mine didn't care. So I was in that 20% right off the gate.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so with that diagnosis, the HER2 positives a quick growing. So I went right into within about 2.5 weeks, I was already into doing my chemo. So I had a mass here, and I'd laugh because I do my regular mammograms and that kind of thing. But again, HER2 is very fast growing. Um, but I woke up one morning on a Saturday morning. You probably remember the day that you were diagnosed, maybe the date.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember. I remember it
Mm-hmm.
was like a Saturday morning in July. I do remember it was 5:18 in the morning. My dog woke me up and it was on the radio alarm clock.
Mm-hmm.
And and no, it was not in 1980s. It was only 8 years ago, but I still had a radio alarm clock next to my bed. Um, and I was just kind of moving my pajamas around and I found a mass up high here.
Oh,
Um, and yeah, enough to where when I went in on Monday to a quick OBGYN appointment to schedule a mammogram, I just knew. I'm like, I don't know what, I just kind of knew in my gut. And I'm like, I don't need a doctor to tell me that this is not supposed to be here. It was like 3.6 centimeters, so it was large enough to where I could tell. And then through the PET scans, CT scans, MRIs, all the upfront diagnostic tools, they had found out that it was in two of my lymph nodes already. So it was already getting up and walking around, starting to. That's what's considered what they call a local metastasis.
right.
So that still kept me in this early stage 0 through 3. So it was a stage 2. Um, so yeah, so six cycles of what they call TCHP, which is a chemo in Herceptin and Perjeta, and then surgery, radiation, and more Herceptin for another 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
But in the beginning, I mean that's all the technical end. But in the beginning, I was on my own. So was married for 25 years, and I was divorced for 5, and had a real. I was fine as a single individual. Didn't need anything. I was self-sufficient. Um, but that was pretty scary going into a cancer diagnosis and you're just on your own.
Hmm.
you're on your own. And so I ended up working through my chemo,
Mm.
um, which was difficult. Um, my manager was very compassionate and said, just I was in outside sales at the time. He said, just after my infusion the next day, he's like, just show up and work the phones, which in sales terms is just put some lipstick on and get into the office. I crawled in. Um, so emotionally, it was very difficult because it's scary. We all cancer's expensive.
Mm.
You max out your deductible and your max annual out of pocket real quick.
Mm. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and then just talking to friends and family that loved me, but that still like you're still kind of talking a foreign language, even though
Yeah.
they love you.
Hmm.
Um, so I ended up like emotionally armoring up. I call armoring up.
Yes.
So I was still in that positive mode, like I'm gonna kick it, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna fight, fight, fight.
Hmm.
And that's what I did all the way throughout. And then when I was done, then there was nothing to fight for. They're like, see you in 3 months. And there's
Mm.
no, if you're hormone positive, most likely, most of the time, you're prescribed a aromatase inhibitor, like a hormone blocker,
Yeah.
2 years, 5 years, 10 years. When you're HER2, there's nothing. You're like, that's what the Herceptin's for. So when you're done, you're done. They just like see you in 3 months.
Hmm.
That's when my armor come off, and emotionally I was just a mess at that point. At that
Right.
point, because I was part of that treatment. And the trauma from that treatment was I was supposed to, in my mind, I had to have a single mastectomy. I chose to have a double.
Mm.
Um, and I got an infection within a week after my
Mm.
mastectomy, which happens about 20%,
Yeah.
15, 20%, you have an infection. So I had to go back in from the first surgery within another week, to what they call explant. So they had expanders put in. Because in my
Right.
mind, I was going to go larger. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm single, I'm 52, I'm doing this.
Why not?
And it's like, no, no,
Mm.
no.
Mhm.
Um, and the other breast, never did fill it. It just kind of came along for the ride for another 6, 8 months. Um, and then when I was done with everything and to take the port out, that's when I chose to have the other expander taken out and go flat.
Okay.
And I'm not totally flat. If you decide to go flat from the beginning, um, breast surgeons, plastic surgeons can make real nice incisions on your
Okay.
body to really kind of make it as flat as possible without any dog ears. But because mine came through infection, I still had to go through radiation.
Mm.
So, radiation will shrink that skin
Yeah.
up without an expander, which
Right.
acts like a spacer. Um, I didn't want that just that crushed my confidence
Yeah.
because not only was I looking at that every day in the mirror, my clothes
Mhm.
didn't fit.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a nice shirt on today, but any dress blouses,
Hmm.
dresses,
Hmm.
I do like to get dressed up in the evening. Um, any of that type of evening wear gowns or any of that I just had to basically toss them. I had to go through my entire closet again
Right.
because they're made for forms,
Yeah.
you know, to fit a woman's body. And then I don't have a woman's body now. I'm like, what is this?
Mm.
That was hard. That was probably the hardest thing was working emotionally and mentally through that process.
Right.
And it takes time. It took me um, a year or two before I was like, okay, kind of finding my rhythm back in life.
Yeah.
Um, I had already had a tattoo, or two, so I was familiar with the process, and at that point, I decided to design my own artwork, and so I decided to go ahead and put my entire chest full of tattoo of me,
Oh, okay.
and that made me feel beautiful
That's awesome.
because
That's
part of
awesome.
that is the art
Hmm.
and the
Hmm.
memories
Yeah. So
because
you
they're
get
very
to look
personal.
at something. Yeah, you get to look at something every day that's a reminder of something better than, you know,
Yeah.
it's actually there.
Yeah, yeah. And there are some survivors that are very proud of their scars
Mm-hmm.
and they earned them, and that's awesome. That's beautiful. That just wasn't me.
Mm-hmm.
Again, everybody's kind of different.
Yeah.
Um, and then part of the tattoo was, yeah, the art, the beauty. and the memories that I put on my body. Um, Part of it though was taking that control back.
Mm, hmm
Like
hmm
I designed it. I'm going to do this. This is my choice because the entire through that entire period, um, it's you try to have control, but you
hmm
really it's almost like a false sense of control.
hmm
Like what
Oh
the
yeah.
doctors, yeah, like they say it's your body, you can do what you want with it, but here's what we
Mhm.
recommend. And then if you
Yeah.
choose not to, well, you're
Mhm.
off our protocol. We don't know what to do with you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's very difficult. I've always been very independent, and it was
Mhm.
very difficult to um, lose that sense of control.
Right. And do you find that um you have, just a certain amount right now, even though, you do get to choose,
Hmm.
um, but also, did you find that it, the decisions had to be made so quickly that you maybe second guessed yourself to,
Oh, yeah.
you know,
Hmm.
and that was me because it just happened so fast, you know. We were taking care of my dad here at our house, and actually when I was looking over your stuff, I noticed that we both got diagnosed in the same year.
Really?
Yeah. So 2016, I had gone to I we had just moved and I did all of my testing and everything to, right before we left so that I could give myself a year to find someone that was, good to find all my doctors and things like that. And then unexpectedly, things were happening with my dad and they were progressing and I wanted
Mm,
to have him with me. I didn't want him being, you know, um, I don't know. I'm just
yeah.
one of those kids. Let me hold your hand. And then
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
remembered that I had said to him, when I was younger, because I was born in Italy and our culture is to keep our people. We don't put them in places. Maybe things have changed in the past few decades, but
Yeah.
I remember telling him when I was very young, Daddy, I'm never going to put you in. And I think it was when we moved here to the States. I think he saw someone or something, and I
Yeah.
could tell that it concerned him. And I said, Oh, Daddy, you're never going into one of those places. I'll make sure you don't. And without even realizing it, it happened, and
Yeah.
and I was able to take care of him. And I had a friend of mine who was a physician's assistant who I'd gone to high school with and knew for years, and she had more dirt on me than God. And she was healing from she had had elbow surgery, and it was so neat how everything fell into place because she was like my 24/7 nurse because her sleeping was so crazy. So I was able to
Ah,
call and one of the things that she really got on me was, because she knew the stressors of taking care of someone, and so she was like, make sure that you go. And I'm like, yeah, I'll find myself a place. And we ended up in caring for him, finding this wonderful office of great doctors. And so we went there, and then he passed in August. And because we were new, even though we had been taking him, they didn't have anything for us until October. So when we went, you go, you do all the tests, and then
oh,
next
that's
thing you know,
yeah.
you're like, you know, um, and it was like everything was blowing up at the same time because they had also found something. I mean, the day that I was leaving
Yeah.
where I had the needle biopsy, and I remember the doctor was, very, uh, you know, her personality type is kind of the almost the same as mine, where it's like, okay, so this is what it is, and we're gonna schedule something else, and I was like, okay, and then she was gone. And I looked at the nurse and I said, did she just tell me I have cancer?
Oh my
And
goodness.
yeah, and she was like, because it just happened so fast.
Yeah.
And she said, yeah, and I'm sorry to say that she's usually 99% right. And I said, okay. So I had to go take these other tests after, and of course the test came back, the needle biopsy came back positive. And as we were walking out of the office, we get a phone call, and it's the doctor's office, and it's for my husband, and stuff is happening with him. And so
Oh my gosh, so much chaos. All just
just was like I just said some things I didn't want to say, but they were true. And he just looked at me, and I looked at him, and then we just kept driving. But I remember when I got the actual phone call, and I was doing a facial, um, and it was at somebody's. I actually went to somebody's house to do the
okay.
physical facial, and she was having some work done, and it was like perfect timing. The contractor asked her to come upstairs because he had some questions, and then while she was up there, my phone rang, and it was them, and they were like, "Hi, it's so and so," and it's like they're dragging. How you
Mm.
doing today? And I'm like, I'm great. What do you need?
What
I can't talk. And she's like, are you by yourself? And I said yes. And she goes, maybe we should talk at another time when you're not alone. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. Just tell me what's going on. And so she told me, she's like, I'm really sorry to say that you have cancer. And I was like, okay. And then she booked, I told her I would call her later. I just remember just going into her bathroom because there was a bathroom close
yeah.
by, a little powder room. And I went in there and I talked to her. And I came back and I sat at the table and I was like, suck it up, buttercup. You got to get through this appointment.
The things we do.
So, it was like her first date or something with this new person, and I helped her with her hair because she didn't know what to do with her hair. Because
Yeah.
I'm a licensed cosmetologist and makeup artist. I don't know if I told you,
Okay.
but yeah. So anyways, and then I just got home, and it was like, but I feel that everything just kind of lined itself up, and I wanted to I found a doctor that she referred me to, a doctor that was close to her, right
Okay.
there in the same place. And then they called me up, and they were so efficient. They were like, we're going to have the radiologist here, and we're going to have the oncologist here. And I was like, okay, not realizing that. And then she said to me, when I was at the point where, because it was on both sides, one side was more prominent than the other, and
Okay.
I chose to, I'm not attached to them. If they need to go, take them. you know and I just didn't want to go down that route of having one and then coming back and doing the mammograms every 6 months. You're walking on eggshells. That just wasn't me. So
Yeah.
from there they said, oh, what are you guys doing later today? Because we had an early appointment, and I'm thinking I'm gonna go home and probably, I don't know, just grab my blankets and throw them over my head.
Just yeah. When I go hibernate. Yeah.
Yeah. Watch my favorite movie, whatever. And so she said, we have an excellent surgeon who's right here, and they have an availability this afternoon.
Wow.
So we went to lunch, and then from there we went to that appointment, and I found out that this later when I wanted to get a second opinion, because there's only a few choices, right? It's either the saline, or it's the silicone, or you go flat. And then he said to me, he goes, if you don't mind changing into a gown, I'd like to see if there's another option for you. Now, you're talking to a girl that can't even handle aspartame in a Diet Cola, can't have any of
Mm.
that stuff. And
Yeah.
so I said, sure. And so for me, it was I already had experience of other people that had had those two things done. And
Okay.
unfortunately, the two people who had the one and then had the other, like one had the silicone and the other had the um
Yeah, the saline.
thank you.
Yeah.
They didn't have great endings. And I thought, Lord help me, because I don't know what to do. So he told me about this procedure. It's called deep, DIEP. I don't know what the letters stand for. I'm not a big, I don't retain that kind of stuff. So, but
Yeah.
what it is they take the flaps from your stomach and they implant them into your breast area. So I chose to do that. And then I left there and I was like, what did I just do? I mean, I don't even know this guy. I booked my surgery and everything. In
That's
the meantime, I got to go for my colonoscopy because, it's been years and I just,
yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like when I went for this appointment, it was like it was just for physical and the floodgates open. But I had ended up, I belonged to this women's club and they had some plastic surgeons come in. And so
Okay.
you know, I remember going to their presentation. And so I called them up and I told them that I was at the presentation and I told them what was happening and could I come in to get a second opinion. And she said, well, we don't really do that. Not many surgeons do that because it's a specific and special field. It's totally different than regular plastic surgery because of the
Yeah.
type of work that they have to do, right? So I was like, okay. But when I told them the name of the doctor, they were like, Anne Marie, this is like the best guy in probably all of Florida. It's like you won the jackpot.
Good.
I said, okay, great. Thank you, Jesus.
It's a good
And
feeling when doctors speak highly of other
right, right.
doctors. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
like, okay, okay.
And now I look back and I think to myself, because it was just boom, 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 right?
Yeah,
And I also had, like you, I had of a little tiny bit of infection. It wasn't that bad, but it was also because my wound wasn't closing. So I had to
okay.
have some creams and that ended up helping. So, and I'm familiar with Herceptin. I didn't have to take that, but I remember my mom had to. And she actually, when it was her time, this is like decades ago, and
Yeah,
Herceptin still was not approved here by the
yeah,
FDA, but it was in Italy. And since that's where we're from, she was like, I think I want to go over and finish out over there. And I said, hey, nobody's stopping you, you know?
yeah.
Going home. Might as well go home and then go home. You know. So so that was my journey and I was in the closet for like the longest time. We didn't tell anybody because we're so far away from our core family that we
Okay.
could see for holidays and other things that it was easy for me to kind of stay in the closet. So that's what I did. And I didn't say anything to anyone for like the longest time. And I don't know
Yeah,
if this was part of your story, but I was having crazy periods, from going from nothing to like almost all month. And,
yeah,
it was just hard. And I remember the doctor telling me that I needed to get it done. And I was just, I don't believe you. You just rearranged everything on me. I don't know if I want to do that.
yeah. The deep flat reconstruction. That's a good.
Hmm.
Big. I applaud you. That's a quite a recovery and quite a
Yeah,
surgery. So you
it
did
is.
good getting through
It
that,
is.
even with the minimal
Mm.
healing issues,
Yeah.
because that's a big time surgery. So you did good getting it healed up. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm grateful. I'm just so grateful. And so when they told me that I had to have it done, it was like the month after I had just had the deep. And so I just didn't even want to hear it. Because to me, the percentage was high, but it wasn't high enough to make me say, sure. And
Okay.
then I had two people one of my friend's sisters who passed like quickly because it was undetected with ovarian. And then
Okay.
right after that was my other friend who passed. Same thing. They totally not detected, went to the
Mm,
hospital, coded on the way, and then they couldn't figure out what's going on.
yeah.
If a woman is bleeding from her special area, wouldn't that be the first place you look? So they finally opened her up a couple days later and they closed her right back up because she was beyond to the point of, and then she passed a day or two after that. And then
Oh,
I was like, okay, I need to get this done. And so I was grateful to find another doctor that was really awesome through a friend of mine and had that done as well. And so it's just been this journey over the past few years of all these changes in the body, but also
yeah,
grateful that I just, like you said, there's just all of these other things that come into play that cause us to lose our, little by little with every appointment.
yeah,
Sometimes you just kind of get quieter and quieter because there's so many things to process that and you don't know who to share with because for me a couple months after my surgery my best friend that I was telling you about who was the physician
yeah.
assistant she passed away so
Mm,
it's just all of these changes happening and I remember that it was almost a year that had gone by and I went down for my friend's funeral the one that had died of ovarian
yeah,
and I met with another friend and I told her then. And she was like, I can't believe you did say anything for her. And she's going on and on. And I'm like, I'm okay. I had the help I needed. I didn't really need, I just needed to be just hibernate. That was
yeah.
me. I don't know if that was you, but
It's so personal on who you
it,
tell, how you
yes,
tell them.
yes, yes.
Especially in the very beginning when you're initially diagnosed, because
Mhm,
all your loved ones, your friends, the family, um, you have to tell them all one way or the other, or you don't. But
mhm.
most people, are going to tell their loved ones. So that means you're recanting that same story over and
Yes,
over for a
yeah.
good solid week,
Hmm.
you know. Um, Two avenue, and I always kind of laugh with people. I let them know there's two avenues to kind of avoid that. You tell your mom, and then she can tell her aunt, her sister in the family, or the one that talks to everybody, and they will tell everybody in the family. So there's a shortcut, who's going
That's
to be
true.
talking in the family. You let them know, and they will tell everybody, and you don't have to deal with it. Um, and or the other way is there's a website Caring Bridge where you could set up an account and you can almost like set up a private blog or like a newsletter, and you
Oh,
update that whenever you want. So,
wow.
but it's semi-private because I mean anything on the internet can be hacked, but basically you invite people in via email. So you put out updates and only the people that are invited in can see them.
Oh,
So that
wonderful.
avoids because that's called caringbridge.com, I think. But one of the things that happens when you tell people, and I'm sure you went through it, is that look. You're telling the
Mm,
same story over and over when you tell people, and even if they don't recognize it, they still get that look like, "Are you dying?" That "Oh my God, you're dying" look, and it's like, I don't look at me. I'm
mhm,
not going anywhere.
mhm.
I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But you still get that look, and you get tired, it becomes exhausting because you're still trying to figure it out yourself. Like I don't know. The doctors just told me 3 days ago.
Right,
I have
right.
to learn a whole nother language,
Yes.
all these acronyms. I got to figure out all these schedules,
Yeah.
and now I
Bracket
gotta,
1, bracket 2, da da
I
da.
did, I did
Yeah.
all the stuff, and now I've got to. And you touched on the timing, and I just want to kind of loop back to that. Not the timing, but yeah, just like the relative to or the relationship between trauma
Mm,
and a time span. And where I'm going with this is that I can't think of the word right off the top of my head, but there's a Japanese metaphor for like healing. You drop a teapot,
mm,
shatters everywhere,
mm.
it breaks. When you put it back together,
Kintsugi.
thank you. I know.
I love,
I'm gonna go with chemo
oh,
brain.
I could
Really
tell
not. It's
you
been
some
8 years, but
stories about
Kintsugi,
that.
yes. And I thought, and I love that. I love that because at the end, you're trying to put your life back together and you
Mm,
drop it on your floor. Maybe some of those pieces were underneath the refrigerator, never to be found again,
yes.
but you got to replace them with something else. But the other aspect of what I heard somebody say was that the trauma is not necessarily when the teapot breaks.
Mhm.
It's the trauma is trying to find all those pieces
Correct.
and put it. Now, if you experience trauma, maybe childhood trauma or trauma, maybe a first marriage a long time ago, or when you're a young adult, there's not a set time to heal from that. Meaning it could take you 5 years, 10 years, it could take you 6 months to heal.
And
But
something
that
can happen
trauma when
down
you're
the
going,
road
yeah, it's
that
something that
just
could,
kind of opens up the wound a little bit.
yeah. But when
Or,
you're going through a cancer treatment, you have to make those decisions now. But you're still trying to pick up those pieces. And the doctors say, well, you could have a lumpectomy and radiation, or you could have a single mastectomy with no radiation. You choose
mm,
in some cases. I don't know. I don't even know. Let me look up what mastectomy, let me Google this just a little bit, please. Let me talk to somebody. So there's that time. You don't have the luxury of time to work through that emotional trauma
mhm.
like you would if it was a different type of trauma. That's one thing that kind of makes um, breast cancer treatment just a little bit different.
Yes, I agree. Because, like I said, for me, it all happens so quickly.
Yeah.
It's like you're diagnosed, here's your phone call, let's set up appointments for you. All of these three people are there. But I feel like I was so blessed with my team because right now I'm remembering the night before
Yeah.
I had the surgery, I was delivering product to a client because I didn't want to make any excuse. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, you know? And I thought, let me just get rid of all this stuff because I don't know.
Yeah.
And I remember we got something to eat and we went to Baskin Robbins because peanut butter and chocolate ice cream is like my favorite.
There you go.
Yeah. And I remember being there with my ice cream and I get a phone call and it's the doctor because I had three doctors doing the surgery, one doctor doing the double mastectomy, one
Okay.
doctor doing taking the flaps out, and then another doctor, because the two worked together, was then did the implanting.
Okay.
So I remember him saying to me, "Good evening, Anne Marie." And he said, "You and I have a date tomorrow." And I thought, I mean, what a way to just kind of put you at ease. And, you know, I
Yeah.
just, that was just so wonderful. I'll never forget that. And he had such a nice and gentle voice, you know, and I just,
Nice.
it was nice. And another thing that happened is that, you know, you go through like different motions and you try to prepare as much as you can. And one of the things that I did is that I pretty much handle everything here at the house. You know,
Yeah.
my husband works. He's semi-retired now, but at the time he was working full time. And I thought he doesn't know any passwords. He doesn't even know when the mortgage is due. He doesn't know
That's right.
anything,
Yeah.
and he doesn't want to know. It's like every time I sit down and try to tell him, he's like for like 3 seconds, and then he's gone. He's like, "Okay, I trust you." Okay. So I grabbed this piece of paper and I wrote everything on it, the passwords, the all the payments, when they're due, what
When they're
happened. I
due.
just put it
Yeah.
to the side, you know. And then not too long after that, my only concern for me, because my surgery, they told me I was going to be out a good 8 hours.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it ended up being 10 for me. But my concern was just being under for that amount of time. Somehow
Okay.
I knew I was going to be okay. And then a friend of mine, who's been my sweet friend for years, she hardly ever goes anywhere. She doesn't even drive because she kind of like grew up in New York and she never needed a
Oh, you don't need to. Yeah. You
right? And
don't.
so here she is and just still doesn't have her license. And she calls me up and she goes, "Guess where I am?" And was at her sister's, who's not too far from me. And I'm thinking, you got to come over for coffee. And so as far as people who knew, she
Yeah.
was like one of the only ones. And to me, that was like God was saying, I have got your back. And because, you know, Muhammad didn't want to leave the mountain, so God brought the mountain to it. It was just such a thing for me that the Lord would bring her here at that time, you know, and
Beautiful.
have her be here and be part of it. It was like I, it was a miracle for me.
Yeah,
And
beautiful.
when that
Yeah.
happened, I knew I was going to be okay. And then when I told my other friend after the funeral, and she was like kind of miffed that I didn't, 2 weeks later, I get a phone call. I still really don't want people to know what the heck happened.
Yeah.
And I'm cooking and I picked up because it was FaceTime, so I clicked because I was listening to music and, or no, it was a phone call. Anyway, I had my Bluetooth on and I'm cutting up and she's like, hey, I was just talking to so and so, and she told me about her botched up surgery. And I wanted to know, I told her how yours just came out so nice. I wanted to know if I could give her your doctor's number because she doesn't live too far from you. And I figured it would be, and I was like, and I got
Oh,
off the phone and I thought to myself, I'm so glad I didn't say anything to you. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I just told you a few days ago, and already you're talking to people about it. And
uh,
granted, this person has no idea who I am, right? And
yeah,
I
yeah.
kid you not, Laura, I felt this little tap on the right here, almost to the point where, did my husband come home? And when I felt that tap, I heard, it's time to come out now. This didn't just happen to you, it happened for you, and it's time to come out. And that was like, I felt like I got spanked. You know?
It's like, come on.
Yeah. And from that point on, it was easier to talk, but it was more, I didn't feel the need to talk until I saw that someone needed help. I didn't go out and shout from the rooftops and start, some kind of movement or whatever. I just
Yeah,
found ways to help people in my own way. That was how I functioned. So I just kind of added it to my life. And so here we are having a chat.
good, good. And for me, I've always been more kind of open person. I
Yeah.
just, you know,
And that's okay
it's
because
just
we're
very
all different.
open, you know. So
Yeah,
I didn't have a, you know, I definitely let people know. But at the same time, I didn't want, they didn't need to know all the details. You know what I
correct.
mean? You let them know,
Correct.
but still going
Yeah.
to keep parts of it private. It's like, now this is my thing to go through, you
Mm,
know,
mm.
even though everybody kind of knew. Um, but especially, when I ended up losing my hair from chemo, and that happened like
Mm,
a month in, because it's usually
mm.
about the second infusion when you start losing your hair.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I ended up shaving it down tight, and then it lost it. So my daughter and I basically shaved it with the
Mm,
cream. And then I found out I had a pretty good looking bald head, so I just kept it shaved the whole time through my for my 5 months of chemo.
yeah.
Because I'm like, the wigs just didn't weren't working for me, or everybody's different. But uh, w- where I'm going with that was that even though I was open, I wasn't 100% vulnerable open.
I understand.
You know,
Understand.
and then it wasn't until, like I say, I ended up going into one of the BCRC, the Breast Cancer Resource Center, support groups after treatment was done. Like, I just walked into a support group and said, I thought I had control. I don't even know what's going on. I don't
Mm,
even know. Because
mhm.
now all the feelings that were there that I had suppressed were just like, I don't even know what to do.
The floodgates were
The
open.
floodgates were open. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so once I kind of worked through that of giving myself permission, like I ride a motorcycle, but I had a big bike. I couldn't even get out of my garage because my body wasn't strong enough. It wasn't
Yes.
going to happen.
Yes.
Once you're going down the road, it's physics, but those parking lots and those garages on a big
Yes.
bike, and I'm like, well, I again, it's part of that healing, that trauma, where you have to evaluate what's important to you
Mm,
and what you want to adjust, or what you want to say, nope, I don't want this to be part of my life, or I want to go in a different direction, or try all new things
right.
and fail at some and say that's okay. Again, giving yourself some love to try different things, because now you know that. And we all talk about, you know, live every day like you're going to die. But now, now it was like, oh, like that. Yeah, now that's like, yeah, you really should. It's not a cliche. And so learning that value of your life every day and going,
Exactly.
okay. So at that point, once I kind of got my own squared away, my own center again, is when I
Mm,
started volunteering for the BCRC. So I still wanted to help others going through
correct.
what I went through. Because
Right.
you just, you don't know. You
And
don't,
and that's one of the best ways to heal because you're sharing the journey with them.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes it's just little things like, hey, heads up, uh, after surgery, after
Mm,
surgery,
hmm.
you're not going to be using these arms too much. You're going to have like little T-Rex arms, and you
Yeah.
put the toilet paper out in front of you. Don't put it on the side. You're not turning like this. So it could be
Yes.
just very functional little things.
Yes.
Or it could be providing space for somebody else to cry or to heal or to be vulnerable and
Yeah.
not try to fix it for them. Just let them.
Because I think there's also a lot of people that are, I mean, from the minute I feel like you tell someone, and that's not to say that they're unfeeling or, because it's almost like when somebody dies, you just don't have the right words to say,
Yeah.
but it just puts you in a different space with people and you get treated differently. And some people, I mean, I've heard so many stories of people who couldn't handle what was happening with the person, and
Hmm.
so they chose to check out. So that's another sad part of some of the things that people have to deal with. And so having this sisterhood of people that have gone before
Gone
you
through.
that can, I mean, I remember the day that I came home from the hospital that they don't tell you a lot. I feel for myself because just like you were saying, I went to bed that night and it was rough. And when I woke up in the morning, you have nothing on top. I mean, you have no strength in your arms because
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can't pull yourself up. And then you have, for me, I had no core.
Because,
And
yeah. But, yeah.
I just laid there and I just tears just came to my eyes because I had no idea. I just felt like this lump of meat on the bed. I had no idea
Mm,
how I was going to move or right.
yeah.
And I thought to myself, I wish I'd never left the hospital because the hospital bed, all I had to do was push a button and I could push myself up and I could, and then I felt like the Lord say to me, "You have your own hospital bed in the other room." Because guess what? We got furniture for my dad, and one of the things that he
Ah,
picked out was one of those. Because we wanted him, we had no idea what was going on with him at the time.
yeah.
We thought he was
Yeah.
going to be around for a while, and I wanted him to have his own space where he can go to his room and do whatever he wanted. So there was a TV, there was a bed, he chose this recliner. So my recliner became my hospital bed. So during the day, I would be in that, and I was able to get up and go to the bathroom on my own because once you're up, it's easier to just, walk
Yeah.
and go where you need to go as opposed to yourself having to pull yourself up and move sometimes. And, and
Yeah.
not a lot of people get told these cute little tips, you know.
Yeah. It's hard, you get inundated with information. So even if the physician, the PA, RN tells you,
Mm,
some of it's going to go right over your head. So it's nice to have somebody with you. Like, are you writing this down? Because I'm
yes,
not.
remember?
Um, and, and yeah, I always try to bring somebody with you to appointments because it's just going to go right over your head. Or sometimes there's a time crunch. I mean, the physicians have this much time to speak with you. Or it's
Yes,
just part of our healthcare system.
that is
They
true.
could be
That is true.
wonderful, individual, loving people,
Mm,
but they've got X amount of people that they need to get to in a very compassionate, empathetic way, but it's reality. And so somebody like a nurse navigator, a patient navigator can talk and tell you
yes.
these little things, or a survivor
Yes.
sister in one of the groups. There's national groups and local groups. They will give you heads up tips on, hey, careful
How
with this.
right. How are you helping people now to reclaim their confidence and get that balance that they need?
Um, well, two different ways. I've been a patient navigator for the last 5 years in working with people all the way through the process and letting them um, a lot of it is the listening and letting them, giving them encouragement when they try new things, when
Yeah.
they try um, new clothes, when they're trying to be relationship issues,
Mm.
when they're because with those hormone blockers, that can really have a detriment
Oh,
to
yes.
intimacy and relationships.
Yes.
Because now you don't, maybe you don't feel that you're most confident, and now there's an intimacy issue between you and your significant other. And so um, supporting them and giving them permission to say, it's okay to try emotional intimacy,
Yes.
be vulnerable to your significant other. And your
Mm.
significant other's got to, your spouse has got to be open to that too.
Yes.
And they need to be supportive and saying, well, what, how can I help you feel more confident? How can I help you in this process? Um, being supportive and just trying things again. I'm a big proponent of try, fail, try, fail, try, and then you succeed and succeed. And it's those wins. And it
Correct.
could be the wins are what builds our confidence.
Right.
And the wins could be, again, trying all new outfits,
Mm.
saying, oh, I would have never worn this 20
Mm.
years ago because it's a different cut when you're flat on your neckline. I would have
Yes.
never worn, so all my tight dresses, they went right out the window.
Mm.
But anything with the neckline and it goes out with an A-frame, those I look super cute in those, So
Yeah.
so whether it be supporting that person and finding those little wins of a
Yes.
new outfit, maybe it's a new nutritional. Um, I don't like the word diet because it implies like instant where
Right.
this is your health
Hmm.
and learning how to eat
Yes.
to improve your lower your chances of reoccurrence. To eat just to
Correct.
stay healthy. Uh,
Yes.
Staying on a schedule to go to the gym. Maybe you go to the gym together
Mm.
and you start pumping up and you say, "Wow, this is good." So it's just those little action
Mm.
action. I mean, I love journaling or people that journal. I don't do too much journaling myself, but I know it helps others. I kind of
Yeah.
like a little
Yeah.
breathing. I love that for getting your emotions kind of centered,
Yes.
but for building the confidence, then it's like take all of that you've thought about, that you've prayed over, that you've gotten centered with God and take it out into action. And that could be little actions of volunteering, of trying something new, or
Hmm.
it could be big actions like I joined a dragon boat, breast cancer dragon boat team. I never even heard of that before I was even diagnosed, dragon boating. And it's big into breast cancer. It's an international sport.
Oh
I'm
my
like, I
goodness.
got asked it. I'm like, what
I'm
do
gonna have
what
to
do
look
people
that
do?
up.
Yeah, it's a
Oh.
beautiful sport. And
Mm.
now I can travel with my team and it's a team sport and you can't get in a boat unless you've had breast cancer. So
Wow.
it's a matter of being athletic and action and staying healthy and then building community because somebody sitting next to you if they've got I've got another reconstruction surgery. Okay, girl, we got you. Well, you understand what they're going through.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And there's nothing, I don't think it's so much easier when someone's gone through the same thing because there's an understanding. There's a different form of care and communication with
Yeah.
that person. And sometimes no communication is communication, right?
Yeah,
And there's
just
just
sitting and
this,
being. Yes.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
And you're just there. And if you know, you know.
Yeah.
Right? If
Yeah.
you know, you know. And nobody knows better than somebody who's walked before you. And I think
Yeah.
that surrounding ourselves with people like that and surrounding ourselves with that support is so essential to. I had support in my own way,
Hmm.
and so that was good for me. And I know that, whoever the Lord brings me, it's and having chats like this and putting them out there to help other people is one of my ways of supporting. And I one of the reasons why I had a hard time is that despite what I went through,
Yeah.
I was in. because once I found out what they needed me to do, I thought, I don't know anybody who's going through this. So I went into a Facebook group and I got educated really quick. But the other thing that I saw was just a lot of stuff I didn't want to see.
Yes.
And it kind of just jostled me a bit. And I thought, okay, I learned to recognize what was healthy for me and what wasn't healthy for me
Good.
because I
Yeah.
needed to distance myself from. And also for me, it was really hard because I almost, not almost, I had like what is that? Survive.
Survivor's Guild? Yeah.
And because it all happened so quickly and it was very cut and dry for me, I almost felt like I didn't really belong to that club of what everybody else had gone through. And so
Yeah.
for me, building that confidence, uh, and and having that balance was it's okay because I've had so many other things happen to me. Maybe we're at the same level. I
Yeah.
just felt bad when I was around people who hadn't had that
Yes.
experience that was comforting at some points. And because I mean I look back now and I think of every once in a while how things happened. Christmas is one of my favorite times of the year. And so I even wrote a book, 31 Days to a Stable Christmas.
Oh, I love that.
I love the music. I love what it's about. I just that and for years I lived in cold climates, so it was just like that snuggle and so that's all we did all month long because my surgery was December 1st.
Okay.
And so
Yeah.
during the day or, in front of the TV, my husband was, right next to me on the bed and we just stayed there all day long and he helped to take care of me. Sometimes I was hungry, sometimes I wasn't. And I learned how to eat breakfast because Italians don't really eat breakfast, but he's a breakfast eater. And so that was part of my care was to make sure that I was eating. And sometimes I could only eat so much because I was telling my sister one time, I feel like I've almost had bariatric surgery because I, it's weird what foods I can handle and when I can handle them and the
Mm,
amount that I can handle, and then the times that I can't. Like I can't even look at food. I just, I'll let you know.
okay. Yeah.
uh, but it's just, it's okay. Whatever way it is, it's okay as long as
Yeah.
we're taking care of ourselves and we're doing the things that brings that health back into our lives because we have to change. One of my other books was a Diary of a Fat and Mourning Post-Pandemic Woman. That's a story for another day, but it talks about addiction and it talks about even my book on Esther. I'm not trying to promote my books. I'm just saying that's where I
Yeah.
poured my journeys into, right?
Okay.
I talked
Yes.
about taking care, how to take care of ourselves and to really just make sure that we're doing that because sometimes we may not think that we are worthy of that self-care, whether it's taking time for ourselves, spending time with other people. I think that's a form of self-care because there's social
Absolutely.
self-care, right? And
Yes.
hanging out with the people that add to you, not divide you,
Yeah.
but that
Absolutely.
add to you
Yeah. Yeah.
and that bring you peace. And sometimes it's with people who've gone through the same thing, right?
Mm, definitely.
I love
Definitely.
the activities that you're involved in and the different avenues that you have of communicating with people and being part of the healing journey. Because I think every little thing you mentioned, I feel is something that is part of self-care that would help other people. I think sometimes because we've gone through so much pain emotionally
Yeah.
that when it even though we're feeling all of these things, all of these other doors are shut now. And I think that as we engage with each other and as we start coming out of us, our shells, those other doors start to open. And we find those pieces, like you were talking before, and some of that gold goes there. Then we find
Yeah.
another piece and we come back and some of the gold goes there. And eventually we'll be this complete vessel again, but even
Yeah.
stronger because of the things that we went through. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We
Yeah.
just have to give ourselves that grace and love in in time
Mm.
and learning about ourselves and I've learned so much from the ladies that I've worked with. Just
Mhm.
they've taught me.
Right.
Um,
Right. That
yeah.
usually happens. That usually happens. I find it neat how people just come, even like you, how people just come into our lives right at the time that we need them. And I think that that's such a blessing because I've learned so
Yeah.
much from you just in talking to you today. And we haven't really had a chance to talk much. Like this is our first big chat.
I know.
And I'm grateful for how you just fell in my lap, truly.
I know, like, what am I doing? Okay, I'll be there. Just give me time. I'll be there. I'll have some words of wisdom coming out of my mouth, maybe, but I'll be there.
Yeah, our experiences, I believe, are words of wisdom because we're able, I think, every experience that people have, if they choose to come out when they're supposed to, when they see a need in someone else, I think that those experiences shared, like you were saying before, could save people a lot of time and grief just by us sharing and being open to help, just by sharing our experiences like
Yeah.
that.
And I think about that sometimes as a patient navigator. And again, once I volunteered for the BCRC for a number of years, different activities, and then it's a full-time job, so full-time opened up, and I came on board, and it can be daunting because it's a full day of talking with people and trying to. I mean, there's a over time you learn. Okay, if this diagnosis, this stage, doctor, goes, well, it's probably this protocol, you know. So you get the general overall, but you're still working with people's grief. And I let them know you almost have to mourn,
Yes.
not maybe not the life you had, but the body, because it's going to
Right,
change.
right.
Could change a little bit, it could
Mhm.
change a lot in my case, but you're going to have to the 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 sooner you allow yourself to mourn and work through it, then at the other end is the sooner you're going to be able to learn about your new what you
Mm.
can do, what you can do better. If you're a runner and you went flat, you probably run better. You're not going to sweat, you're not going to because you don't have any more breaths, and you're not going to worry about that when you're running, you know.
Yeah.
At the same time, you may have limitations of things that maybe you wanted breasts, but you don't have them. So now you're going to have to learn. Do you want to wear a prosthetic bra? Do you want to, you know, so um, all those different options, but you can't get to that point until you recognize that this is changing your life,
Yes. Yes.
and it, it's um it's difficult to get through that. So working with women 8 hours a day
Mm.
and learning, yeah, it's daunting for me, you know, after 5 years. I still love it. I love what I do.
Yeah.
Um, but having opportunities like this where I can go out and talk with a wider audience and say, hey, hey, if you have a loved one in your life, here, heads
Yeah.
up, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's a neat thing to do because it, I think that's how the word gets out and that's how communities get built and that's how people get helped and how they get through because there's a lot of loss and
yeah,
like you said, once you I talked about that in the Diary of the Post-Pandemic Woman because it's about loss, like actual, not just grief loss, because so many people lost so many things. And so
yeah,
going through those, and I always say that grief is like a fingerprint. So your fingerprint is different than mine, but we still have to acknowledge the grief. We have to acknowledge the death of who we were before. And now we get to have a new experience and embracing that experience. It's like trying broccoli for the first time or spinach or whatever. You don't know if you're going to like it or not, but at
Yeah.
least you try it and then you could incorporate it. But knowing that and I feel that I just my books are coming to me. Ah! Esther is was like the most famous scripture for Esther is like for such a time as this, right? And I feel that in this time, in this age, there's so many more options that all the ladies that went before us didn't have, right? They didn't have prosthetics. They didn't, maybe they had wigs, but there's just so many things that are available for us today that, people like you, patient
Mm,
navigation. There was no patient navigation then. They
no.
cut you open, they sent you home, and you went to your appointments. And because I remember my mom's journey, and it is nothing like my journey or your journey. I mean, it was,
It's,
I'm not
it's
even going there. Let's just put
okay.
it that way.
It's
At one of the best places, you would think Yale would be,
yeah.
but, we're talking, what, 30 years ago, maybe now?
So it was just functional.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
yeah.
There, all this emotion, all this other stuff that makes up the person that lost this was never taken into consideration.
Mm,
The
mm,
emotional impact, the impact on the family, the impact on the friends, the impact in our own minds was just never addressed. And so
yeah.
I feel that as women going forward, if we could help others learn on their journey, it's going to just make, I mean, my prayer is that it's totally eradicated and that it doesn't happen anymore, but is that reality? Uh, but we can help in how we
Absolutely. Yeah.
educate ourselves and how we
Yeah.
help,
And
right?
sometimes when I get down on myself about, oh, this why did I sign up to be a patient navigator, and I think, why am I even doing this? We all have it with all of our jobs. There's something that we just go, oh, why
Hmm.
why did I do this?
That's true.
And I think about, um, if I wasn't doing what I did, would people still
Mm-hmm.
get through cancer treatment? They
Mm-hmm.
would. They would. People are, it's the human spirit to
Yeah.
stay alive and to fight. But would they have the same results at the
Hmm.
other end? And probably not.
Hmm.
Just for reasons like you said, the
Yeah.
emotional aspects, the relationships, the expectations, the advocacy with the physician of, no, I don't want to look like this. I want to look like that. Or I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to do radiation. What are some other options? Or I don't.
Hmm.
So those discussions weren't had before.
No, they weren't. Because some of the options weren't there like they are today.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just think it's wonderful that they're there for us. So how can people get a hold of you if they
Um,
need to get a hold of you? What ways can they connect with you if they need help with
yeah.
things? Do they want you as a speaker or anything
Yeah,
like
a couple different ways for
that?
speaking. I would love to come and speak with different organizations. So I can be found at Unbroken Courage. Again,
Hmm.
that's unbrokencourage.com, or Laura at unbrokencourage.com. If you're in the Central Texas area, around the Austin area, which is where I'm at, the Breast Cancer Resource Center, or bcrc.org, it's a nonprofit. We serve that area.
Great.
Okay. You can always go to the same website, breast cancer, or bcrc.org, and look at the Breast Cancer University. It's a wonderful holder of videos, educational videos, interviews with doctors, different panel sessions, a wonderful resource if you're somewhere other than Central Texas. And I say that because we have like literally 5 navigators, and we're already
Oh, good.
so we're already kind of book solid as far as trying to help people, getting through, because we walk all the way through. While I stay with somebody, just keep checking them on until they're done.
Right.
So through diagnosis.
That's
Um,
awesome.
so unfortunately, there's a whole lot of hurt out there, and we can't
Mm,
get to everybody. especially
Hmm.
at a platform like this that goes out.
And
So
and isn't it great for you that you're able to, and for the people that are coming to you, because it's like when you said that, I thought of customer service. You customer service and you tell them your whole story, and then the next thing you know, it's like, oh, I can't help you 10 minutes later. Let me put you through a department. And so there's that comfort of Laura or whoever your navigator
all the
is.
way through.
It just
Yes.
guides you all the way through.
Yeah, keep checking, or you
Wonderful.
could call or text. Yeah, so uh, um, which you have to build that relationship and that trust. Even though many of these individuals, they would walk by me on the street,
Mm.
wouldn't
Mhm.
physically see them. We've got an event this Saturday at like a summit, breast cancer summit, and um, they all know me because my picture is on the website, and um, but yeah, so I won't know them until I say, "Hey,
Do you remember?
you're my navigator," and I go, "Hi." As soon as they
Yeah.
start talking, that I know, but I just don't. I don't. A lot of times, I don't see people unless they're part of our support groups or that kind of thing.
Right.
But it still makes me feel wonderful that they're that we work together to help them, you know, get to back into their lives, into their groove.
It's such a great work that you're doing, and I'm just so glad that you're here for the people. And I thank you for your time,
Oh,
for
it's been
being here with
wonderful.
me and
Thank you.
sharing. And we'll put this up soon, and we'll put all the credentials underneath so people can get a hold of you and connect with you. And if you can't help them physically, I know that you know where to send them.
We'll send them. Yeah, do whatever I can.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Thank
and thank you. It was wonderful. Yeah, just crossing paths.
you. Hmm.
In life, sometimes you don't know how that happens, so I'm glad. I'm
Right.
glad it happened.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you. Thank you.